Yes, Madam Chair, I'm very concerned about this item. As my colleague indicated, it has been a recurring decimal for some time now about the level of inefficiency in the postal service. And we have been told time after time that the private courier service, etc., has overtaken the services traditionally provided by the postal service. And as a result, it has underutilized, and the revenues that usually generated have been depleted. And we were told that steps were being taken to make the postal service more competitive with the private courier services in order to ensure higher levels of revenue and to make it viable. We have been told that. That's one. Number two, Madam Chair, usually in the budget presentation for the recurrent expenses and also on the capital expenditure, a scheme of activities to be done in the upcoming year is set out. When I look in this estimate, zero. For example, activity 12-228, postal service delivery. We see a narrative there that speaks to nothing about any improvement in the scope of work to be done by that expenditure. Mail transportation services below, nothing at all. And quite frankly, Madam Chair, it leaves a lot, a cause for concern. As members of Parliament, when we come here and look in the estimates, we want to see if any of those facilities in our constituencies are being provided for in the budget in the ensuing year. I have a post office in my constituency, for example, that is in badly need of repairs. Every time I go by there, the staff complain to me about the condition. I see nothing in this estimate that can redress that situation. And I don't know any other members of Parliament might find themselves in a similar situation. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, I went up to one of the post office at Constant Spring. And I mentioned that in particular because we were told that that facility, being a relatively large one, a major utilization program would be put in place. I went and I saw some AC units been installed, and I quietly made some inquiry of the staff. What is going to be done here? Knowing very well what was said in this house about what will take place in facilities like that. They couldn't tell me anything. So I thought that since I'm a member of this house, I'll come here and get something. But regrettably, nothing is in here about what is going to be spent in fiscal 25-26 by the Postal Service. There are no blue pages here on it. None.
Member, if you look at page 15,039-4, towards the bottom, activity 10,159, rehabilitation, maintenance, and repairs, you will see that the expenditure there supports the engineering services unit, which seeks to ensure that electrical and mechanical facilities at the central sorting office and post offices island-wide function properly. The provision includes $134.6 million to repair 6 post offices, namely St. Anne's Bay, Negril, Montego Bay, Sandy Bay, Stony Hill, and Halfway Tree. Additionally, they are to procure 2 elevators and upgrade the fire suppression system for the central sorting office.
Well, thanks for that bit of information, Minister. I now see that nothing is there for Greater Portmore Post Office, and I see nothing is there for the one I referenced at Constant Spring, and all here are other areas, but at least that provides a little bit more as it relates to.
But remember, I also said that what was reported to me is that there will be minor renovations at 15 post offices. I don't have that list, but in addition to the major renovation, there'll be minor renovations.
I hear you, Madam Minister. But again, when we come here, we're not provided with global vague descriptions like those. Because there's a program of activities to be done. There are specific locations across the country, and if there's any planning whatsoever, the department can say from its inventory of facilities, these are what we are planning to do. So even if it is not provided here, we can go back to our constituents to tell them what is to come if there is a plan to deal with it. There is nothing from what you have indicated. That sounds like
right, so I've been told that there is work that is scheduled for Greater Portmore and Constant Spring, and that will be supported by the NIDS program. Because you know the NIDS is using our post offices for the distribution of the national ID, and in many cases they do significant renovation work in order to accommodate that. And again, I was just being told that the Greater Portmore and Constant Spring offices will be supported by the NIDS.
Madam Chair, with all due respect, that response is begging of a response. Because to tell me that something is going to be done at Greater Portmore and can't tell me what is going to be done, something is going to be done at Constant Spring. What that something is, nobody have a clue, but yet that something is being planned. What specifically is being planned? To come here and tell us that is regrettable.
So, member, additional information suggests that there will be renovation of the counters, there will be painting done, there will be ACs installed, right, to improve the whole aesthetics of these post offices.
Madam Chair, through you, I'm going to ask the Minister if by the Ministry of Finance is not going to be here for the rest of the day, and given that there are specific plans, as is indicated just now, that before this committee rise, a list of the scope of work to be provided, and those two post offices mentioned be provided to us before we rise.
Respectfully, member, that has never been done to any minister who sits in front of the committee. Never have been done. That is inappropriate. It is inappropriate. It has never been done. The minister, yes, has to be able to give you responses that take you down to an element of detail. However, the scope of work for jobs normally would never come to this parliament for presentation in any committee. And if you would like to have that information, respectfully, member, minister, it needs to be requested from the ministry directly, not necessarily from the Minister of Finance, even though the Minister of Finance speaks globally on all budget matters. That level of nitty-gritty, it's unfair and unreasonable to come here and do that to the minister.
Madam Chair.
I have spoken.
No, and I can't respond to you, Madam Chair. I wish to respond to you.
You can go ahead.
Yes.
You can go ahead, member.
I disagree with you that this has never happened. I'm not asking the minister. No, let me, if you allow me, Madam Chair.
Minister, what you would be required to do in respect of this head is to provide details as to the list of post offices or postal agencies and what is the budget for repairs or renovation, and that would be sufficient information for this session.
Madam,
If the member would like to know how much is to be spent on painting, the AC, and how much is going to be spent on cleaning the tiles, the member would need to get that information outside of this committee session.
if may I respond to you, Madam Chair?
Next member. Next member.
Madam Chair, what is this we have here?
Next member.
Only to be spoken to?
Next member.
You made a comment and I wish to respond. And
Next
I'm not
member.
going to be afforded that opportunity.
Member Jackson, this is not the space.
I merely asked to respond to a statement you made. Even that courtesy should be extended.
I extended the courtesy already,
You cut me off before
and you went into, you don't agree, and you're allowed not to agree. Next member.
So you're not going to allow me to ask my question of you, the
Next
chair?
member.
Are you not going to allow me to ask my question of you, the chair?
Sure. I'm not sure what your intention is here, Member Jackson. You know? No, he doesn't have a question to ask. Member Jackson, if you have a question, you can ask your question. My point remains, as it relates to the level of details you're asking for, that's not appropriate, and that is the decision.
That's what I wish to just say something to you.
Go ahead, member.
I was making the point, Madam Speaker. I was not asking the minister to present that to me today. I'm simply saying, if you will allow me, Madam Speaker, because every time I walk out, you want to stop me. All I was asking, she got the information, she wouldn't have it. I didn't expect the minister to have it. It comes from the relevant department. And I was simply making the request for her to have from the department to provide it. I couldn't expect a minister to come here to give me detail on something that I asked for here. That has never happened before. And that is not what I was requesting of the minister. It is because the minister is representing the department. I am channeling my request through her.
Thank you very much, member. Thank you very much. Thanks for that clarity. Member Hilton.
Madam Chair, I've been looking for, and the answer was partially provided for the OIC, but I don't see a budget line in here for the OIC, Office of Information Commission, which is a very critical agency of government that really needs to perform if we're going to generate economic activity and data protection. I would need to, I'm not seeing it. If I can be pointed to where it is exactly, I could ask a question or two on it.
No, but I was on Post and Telecom. I had one question on Post and Telecom. It was a very simple question.
It's a very important office, very important commission.
Member, if you turn to page 15,012, and
Page?
15,012, and about midway down the page,
15,012.
yes, about halfway down the page, sub-program 20, ICT policy and regulation, and then you look on the activity 10,005, direction and administration. You will see the budget there for the Office of the Information Commissioner projected to be $225.5 million.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Minister, for pointing me. It's very obscure for what is a very critical agency. And there are concerns about the operational aspects of the OIC that needs to be addressed. Whether this is adequate to the task is something that have to be interrogated further, but that agency needs to be fully operational. It plays a very critical role, and the impact has not been seen or the information available to investors who are interested in this critical aspect of data protection.
Okay. So, member, I've been told that this was the request from the Office of the Information Commissioner, and it looks like it's about 10% for fiscal 25-26 over the current fiscal year, but they were given all that they requested, and this budget is $225.5 million.
May I ask, is the tenure of the oversight body, is that tenure ended, and is there any contemplation for a new oversight body on the OIC?
All right, member, I understand that the oversight body is being actively treated with right now.
But its tenure is ended.
Yes, its tenure. Yes, that's the answer.
Okay, we need to do a lot more on education from the OIC, and any amendments to the Act. It is creating a lot of havoc among the investor community. Make those observations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to go back to the Post and Telecom, Minister, the postal agencies, I'm not hearing much about them. I've heard you say quite a bit about the post offices, but the postal agencies which facilitate our elderly and people in primarily the deep rural communities. Many of those agencies are currently in a very, very deplorable state. One, what is the direction of the ministry as it relates to our postal agencies? I've made requests time and time again for upgrade of many of them. Many of them, the roofs are leaking. They have zero facilities, proper facilities for bathrooms. They are currently not secure. The people who are working there are so severely underpaid that I just need to have an update as where are we? Because without those postal agencies, many of our people will not have the opportunity to be able to transact business because the post offices are just too far away.
All right, thank you, member, for that question. Across Jamaica, understand we have about 161 postal agencies. In terms of how they are financed, the postal agencies get a retainer fee to support the services and the rental of space at those locations. I understand as well that the decision with regards to rental is that the rental of space is that of the postal agent.
I put head, you have another person? Member, you're not right, you're in? Okay, member. I put head 0-1000 pages 1 through 4. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. I put head 0-2000 pages 1 through 6. Those in agreement? Ayes? Nay? Ayes have it. I now put head 0-3000 pages 1 through 4. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Head 0-5000 pages 1 through 4. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Head 0-6000. Those in favor? Pages 1 through 5. Those against? The ayes have it. Head 7000 pages 1 through 5. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. 8000 pages 1 through 5. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. 9000 pages 1 through 6. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. 10,000 pages 1 through 3. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. 15,000 head 15,000 pages 1 through 17. Revenue side. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Head 15,000C, pages 1 through 15. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. 15,010, 1 through 4. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Head 15,020, pages 1 through 5. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Head 15,039, pages 1 through 7. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Head 16,000, pages 1 through 5. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. And last but not least, head 16,049, pages 1 through 5. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister would now proceed to head 2,000. Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. 20,000.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Specifically with regards to the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, the budget for 2025-26 is $73 billion. The ministry also includes the Accountant General's Department, Jamaica Customs Agency, and we also ensure that the debt is serviced and that any amortization is done in a timely manner. The Ministry of Finance is also responsible for pensions, tax administration, the Financial Investigation Division, and the Revenue Protection Division. In terms of the budget for the Accountant General's Department, that's $1.85 billion. For the budget for pensions for this upcoming fiscal year is $46.1 billion. For tax administration, Jamaica, $23.3 billion. The Financial Investigation Division, $1.4 billion. And the Revenue Protection Division, $494 million. With regards to the debt, we are forecasting that public debt servicing of interest payments will be $177.5 billion. And with regards to amortization, that means the debt that's coming due for the fiscal year 2025-26, that's $162.7 billion. And those are the items under the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service.
Minister, just confirming if you're through.
Right, just wanted to say those are the recurrent expenditure. For capital, Madam Chair, for the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, that's $2.6 billion for the upcoming fiscal year.
You will now take questions, Minister? Yes. Member Robinson.
Thank you. The most significant feature of this budget is the significant reduction in debt payment, about $340 billion. The amortization is down almost 50%, $162 billion, and the interest. The question I have for you in relation to amortization, is the reduction primarily around issue of the timing of maturity of debt versus an overall reduction? Because when I look at the overall debt number has actually increased at a nominal level. So is the significant reduction in amortization primarily due to timing of maturities that have not become due for payment in this fiscal year coming?
The answer is yes. There's less in terms of debt that's coming due in this upcoming
So if I extrapolate, I would assume then going forward, this reduction, which I think everybody is happy about, but we would not enjoy this type of reduction in amortization going forward based on the timing of the repayment of the maturities.
Member, if you look at the recurrent page 2 on the public debt amortization, you will see the projection for the next 3 years beyond the 2025-26 budget year. For example, fiscal 2026-27, that will be $174 billion. 27-28 will be $220.6 billion, and 28-29 that will be $309.8 billion in amortization.
So it's going back up, right? In relation to the reduction in interest expense on the debt, is that primarily driven by a reduction in interest rates that have contributed to that? It's marginal. I mean, over last year it's only about 3%. So is that we're benefiting from the global reduction in interest rates?
Right, so yes, the reduction in interest rates would have accounted for some of that.
And that would be more heavily weighted to the international component of the debt versus the local component of the debt, because we haven't seen much movement on the local side.
Domestic.
Huh?
Domestic, local.
You're saying it is more domestic than international?
More weighted towards the domestic debt than international.
You're seeing more of a reduction on the domestic side than on the international side?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, I have some more questions for you, Minister. In relation to could you tell me what the wage to GDP ratio is for the 25-26 year?
Sure. That number you would find in the fiscal policy paper for fiscal year 2025-26, and I would refer you to the number is 13.3, but I was just trying to refer you to the page. All right, if you look at part 3, page 25, on the wages. you'll see 13.3.
Is up to 2 years ago, we had a cap, well, it may be more than two, maybe 3 budget cycles ago, we lifted the cap, which was originally at 9%, and we had the compensation review. Is the government contemplating reimposing a cap in terms of the wage to GDP?